All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's open forum. I appreciate everybody coming in today. We have lots of people here. We have a I think you guys will recognize this as a very hot topic these days. We have had lots of you ask about, what you can do to help your listing sell better. A lot of it comes down to price reduction, obviously, and we're going to get into that as we go today. If you do have just a raise of hands or I'm sorry, do a little emoji thing there. If you have a listing or have had one recently that you would like to have lowered the price on, you think that would help sell it. Let's get an emoji or a raise of hands for that. You guys have something like that. You can even put it in the chat if you want, like Yolanda has done. She's got a property that she wants to lower the price on in DeLand. And we're going to talk about exactly how to do that, how to get the seller to do that. And it all starts from the beginning, from the listing presentation on, and we're going to talk about that. So hold on to your seats. It's going to be exciting. The seller price reduction playbook, how to protect your listing, your seller relationship with the commission when the market sends a message. I got a phone call from one of our agents this morning who had an issue like this. The house is now under contract, but the seller's upset. Then somebody came and offered the seller more money after she went under contract with someone else, and it's just become a mess. So seller resents the realtor and all that stuff. And the offer is a cash offer, but they won't produce a proof of funds or anything. So it's probably nonsense anyway. But the agent is dealing with a difficult seller. And I'm not saying that anything could have prevented that, but this might have helped. So let's talk as we go along here about that. Feel free to chime in with any kind of questions that you have as we go along. And hold on, here we go. Okay, why this conversation matters now. When listings sit, agents need a better conversation, not more hope. Here are the stats. These are the real stats from Aura, 62 average days on the market for Orlando homes. If you're in Tampa or the Space Coast, Daytona areas, these are all very similar. It's all of Central Florida is in the same boat here. About 12,000 homes in inventory for June 2026. Now that is a lot of inventory. We've been in an inventory deficit for years. This is getting back up to where it should be, which is 4 months of supply, but it's 4 months supply in a little bit slower market. So that 12,000 number is about what the market should be at. A balanced market is not a bad market. It's a market where the right pricing conversation matters again. We all went through the pricing conversations 3 or 4 years ago when it didn't matter. And it's just about how are we going to handle these? How are we going to do a spreadsheet with all these offers? How am I going to bring all these to you and pick an offer? And now you're wishing you had two to pick from, wishing you had one to pick from. So as we're back where we were before that, maybe the 2017, 2018, we're back in a balanced market. So let's see where we go from here. All right. The mindset shift. Price reductions are not a failure. Silence is feedback. That is something to get across to your sellers from the very beginning. This is why they lose faith in you. This is why you struggle with them. This is why some of you call me and please do call me and ask how to have difficult conversations. I don't mind that at all. I think it's great. It's great to ask your fellow agents how to have difficult conversations. It's great. I don't care. You can put it on the Facebook page. You can do whatever you want to get other people's feedback. I'm happy to give you feedback on it because every seller is different. Every relationship is different. Every realtor is different. So you please take plenty of input on this. Don't be afraid to ask your fellow realtors. We've all been through it. But what I want you to do is I want you to start setting the tone from the beginning. If you have a brand new listing or have one, you're going to have an upcoming conversation. Pay extra attention to this. But from now on, when you do from the listing appointment is when you set this. This is how you win listings. This is being honest and open up front and getting them to be real about this. And we're going to talk later on about sellers who say, oh, let's just try it at 30 grand over market, right? Let's just throw it out there for a little bit. And what they do, they don't understand this. And what we're going to go over today is some things that you can say because you understand that a property, if we price it 30 grand too high, let's say we price a 550 house at 579, just to throw it out there and see what happens. And then that house sits for 14 days, 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, and now it's stale. And other houses that are just like it are selling for 550, and we're not. And now we're going to be getting lower offers than that because now it looks like we've got a bad house to sell. So we're going to go over that. The market. Okay, This is quotes. The market is not rejecting the home. It is rejecting the current combination of price, condition, exposure, and competition. Now, this is the conversation you have with the seller. The market is not rejecting the home. What you're saying is we didn't price it right. Your home's fine. We didn't price it right. The market is not rejecting the home. It's rejecting the current combination of price, condition, exposure, and competition. The old conversation is we need to lower the price. That is what we do. I am guilty of it. I'm guilty of having that conversation with sellers. We just need to lower the price. The market is telling us what adjustment will create the next wave of buyer interest, because that's what you need, is a new wave of buyer interest. Your job is to turn market feedback into a strategic adjustment before the listing becomes stale. Stale is the word I was looking for a few minutes ago. That you don't want your listing to go stale when it sits on the market 30 days, 60 days, right? And it does. So you guys all know that when you're representing a buyer and they send you a house and maybe they don't know the days on market or whatever, and you look at it and it says 78 days on market, you let your buyer know that. So you tell them this has been on the market for a while, so this property is a little bit stale. And then you look and see how many times the price has been dropped, right? You have a buyer. I'm helping a buyer right now. I told you guys about it last week. He's in the very low end. He's limited to $200,000. That's his pre-qual. I put his search up to 215 just because, you might be able to negotiate a 215 to a 200, right? Depending on how long it's been on the market. So he sends me this 210 that he really likes, but it's been on the market 3 days. What are the chances of us getting a property that's been on the market for 3 days? I tried to set up showings, and there are 6 showings set for that weekend, which was last weekend. What do you think our chances of ever going in there and buying that for 195? Not very good, right? So because it's been 3 days. If that had been 63 days, absolutely. First of all, there wouldn't have been a lot of showings for the weekend, and we would definitely have gotten that in the ones, right? That's what we think. And so I didn't look at that one, obviously, because it's been on the market 3 days, but I would look at the history and I would say, look, this thing's been on the market 73 days. They've lowered the price from 229 to 224 to 219 to 214.9, right? So we would have that discussion. It's because properties get stale. And it looks like, what does it look like for buyers when properties get stale? A lowball opportunity, right? Not necessarily even lowball, but just an opportunity to get it even cheaper. That property that I'm, not that particular one, but a property that I'm describing, which you guys have seen many times at different prices, but they keep dropping the price a little bit at a time. Guilty of it myself. Keep dropping the price a little bit at a time. It looks like an opportunity for buyers to go in and get it cheap, right? So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. When the market's stale, be able not to keep it in mind, because I know you guys all have it in mind. You guys all know that. We know that as realtors with any experience whatsoever. You know that, but the seller does not. And so you have to get that across to them in a way that makes sense to them. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's a little bit awkward to even describe it to you guys, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So how would I describe it to a seller? And that's what we need to talk about, right? So diagnose before you prescribe. The best price reduction conversations start long before you say a number. The 3 warning signs system, and we've talked about this many times. You guys have brought your listings in here and you say, gosh, guys, I just can't sell this. I don't know why. We're getting a lot of views. We're getting a lot of showing requests. We're getting a lot of showings. We're not getting offers, or we're not getting any showings, or whatever it is. So I've always told you guys, lack of showings is pricing, right? And pricing and presentation on the internet. Lack of offers, once they see it, is it's not presenting itself well, or it's not presenting itself to be worth the money. So let's go on and look at this. Of course, everything is money eventually, because everything is compared to the money, right? But some things are also, if you have a high price home, you're going to get certain buyers that go look at it because they think this has got to be nice. And then they get there and it's not the condition that they want. So let's look at this. Low online engagement. The market is scrolling past you. That means your price is too high. Few or no showings. The price is not creating urgency. So at that price, there's no urgency whatsoever. That's a high price home. I can come get that later. It's a price that's been on a house that's been on the market. And you guys, we've all been surprised at this. You'll set a showing for a house that's been on the market 82 days. And by the time you get there on Saturday, it's already under contract. And you're like, what? This house, I show interest in it finally, and it goes under contract immediately. This is crazy, right? Or you'll want to put in an offer and they say, oh, we have 2 other offers. And you're like, this property's been on the market 80 days and you've got 2 offers this weekend? That's crazy, right? And a lot of times you don't even believe them. So you submit your offer and it gets accepted. You're like, they're probably lying. or exaggerating. So, but that happens, and especially when they're lowering the price or they're improving something about the house. So you're getting fewer no showings. The price is not creating urgency. You're getting showings, but no offers. This is a tough one because buyers like it, but not enough at this price. Sometimes they just don't like all the work that needs to be done or something like that. And that's when you have to have a difficult conversation about, remember all the preparation we said we could skip? Well, I might've been wrong about that, right? Maybe we should fix this or fix that, depending on feedback, which we'll get into a little bit later. Or it may not be showing well. That's typically what I would say. What preparation can be done, what repairs can be done, et cetera. So where the funnel breaks tells you what to fix. You guys all know that this is a funnel, just like your leads funnel, just like anything else. You start with the whole world, and then you start with people who'd be interested in your house. You start with people who save it or like it online. You start, and then you go to people who, fits their search. You go to people who actually set up showings. You go to people who actually show up for showings. You go to people who actually like the house and will send an offer. And you go to people who with an acceptable offer, right? And all of that comes down to one at the end, right? So that's what the funnel is. And where the funnel breaks tells you what to fix. So if you're not getting, you got a bottleneck that nobody's getting through, they're not getting through, maybe they're getting to the showing and they're not getting past that, you're not getting any offers, that tells you what you need to fix. No clicks equals photo price positioning problem. No showings equals price value problem. No offers equals condition price terms problem. Maybe your terms are, you want, maybe your seller wants, crazy terms or something. At some point, there's a problem in your funnel if you're not getting acceptable offers. If your listing is sitting there, there's a problem somewhere in your funnel. Maybe it's at the very top. Nobody's liking it. Nobody wants to set up showings, and maybe it's at the bottom. And you've got to figure that out. Depends on what's happening. But just like anything else, the symptoms show you what the problem is. Okay. All right, diagnosis funnel. Before reducing the price, identify which lever is actually broken. I have seen you guys, you guys have called me and said, I think I want to lower the price because, it's not selling. It's been on the market 90 days. And I'll say, are you not getting showings? You're like, oh no, we're getting lots of showings. We did get lots of showings at the beginning. We're not so many now, of course, it's been 90 days. So there's no urgency left anywhere. And everybody, the market's been through it already. Everyone's already seen it. It showed up on everybody's search, et cetera. Exposure, are enough buyers seeing it? And that's where he goes to your marketing. Engagement, are they clicking and saving? Showings, are qualified buyers walking in? I apologize that the font it looks a lot bigger on my computer than it is when I'm sharing it with you guys. If you're younger than me, which most of you already probably don't have a problem. Showings, are qualified buyers walking in? Feedback, what objections repeat? And offers, what price would cause action? You're not getting somewhere along the line, you're getting something. Feedback is what we'll talk about. It is difficult to give agents to give you feedback. There's these online stories about it's dangerous to give feedback because you could give away your buyer's position. Look, if you're giving feedback, your buyer's probably not interested. They're not interested at that time in those terms. To go back later and say, my neighbors, my buyers, they didn't like, they have to replace all the photos. It's too much work needed to be done. That's fine, right? Whatever it is, they didn't, the neighborhood's too far from their job. It's too far, whatever. They didn't understand that they were going to be so close to the shoe leather factory or whatever, right? So you try to give feedback if you can, but always try to get feedback. If some people won't give it to you, that's fine. But always try to get feedback as soon as, before it even becomes a problem. Always try to get feedback. All right. Do not diagnose with feelings, diagnose with activity, feedback, and the seller's actual goals. Oops. All right. All right. The no surprises listing appointment. So you set the tone from the beginning. Set the price adjustment plan before the sign goes in the yard. Before you put this on MLS, you can even, I know a lot of you do this, and I love that you do this. You put it, and I advise you to do this. But I actually got the idea from one of you guys a long time ago. Put the plan in the listing agreement, right? If you put it in writing, say, look, we're going to leave it here for 14 days, especially if you give in to them on the pricing, especially if you say, fine, okay, we'll start with that price, but I want that price gone in 10 days if we're not getting showings, okay? If we're not getting the activity we expected in the first 10 to 14, guys, sometimes you have to act like you're not desperate. I know a lot of us are desperate for listings. A lot of us are desperate for buyers, et cetera. Sometimes you have to act like you're not, okay? And that is what creates urgency with people. If I say, if someone asks you out on a date and you say, they ask you on a date, but they say, oh, we can go anytime, ever, whenever you want. That's no urgency at all. They're not making themselves scarce. They're not building any urgency. They're not building any value in themselves. Build value in yourselves as a listing agent. Say, look, I don't let my listing sit on the market. That's not my style. So we'll go with your pricing if you want for 10 days. If we're not getting showings in this first 10 days, and I hate doing this because this is when the action is. I have a system. I put my listings on the market on Wednesdays because that builds it up for the weekend. I like to host an open house that Saturday, whatever your plan is. I like to open house that Saturday, hit everybody's search. We have thousands of people that this is hitting their search, maybe hundreds, which depends on what price range you're in. We have hundreds of people that this is going to do a reverse search on, right? So we have hundreds of people that are going to be interested in this house. It's going to be priced right. It's a nice home. This is the weekend that we get action. This weekend and next weekend. The first 10 days are the most important 10 days from that Wednesday to the following Sunday. That's when we know if we have a listing. After that, we're in a little bit of danger of it getting stale. Okay, we're getting that first hint of being stale. It's like bread. If you leave it out a couple of days, you're risking it getting stale, and that's what we're doing here. So in the first 10 days, okay, I'll go with your pricing, right? I know Tammy from Orlando is going to come in behind me, and she's going to tell you, yeah, we'll price it at that, blah, blah, blah. But that has the risk of going stale. I don't want that. So here's what we'll do. Yes, we'll list your house is worth $550. We'll list it at $564.9 for 10 days. Okay. And then we're going to drop it. If we don't have enough showings, we're going to drop it. Now, if we got a bunch of showings and we got a bunch of people interested, and maybe we got some offers for the $550 that it's worth, great, we'll take them. But otherwise, we're going to do that, and then we're going to put the price to a $559 or a $554.9 or something like that. All right. We're not going to panic. We're just going to adjust based on the data. So you agree on the showing threshold, you agree on the feedback review schedule, you agree on the adjustment trigger before emotions are high. I want you to do it before you leave the room. You agree on, we're going to do every 2 weeks, we're going to drop the price a little bit if we're not getting the kind of action that we want. And we'll come back and discuss this. But let's set some parameters. Let's say we're going to hit this, we're going to hit that, we're going to hit that. All right. Lead the seller through the psychology. The reduction is emotional for the seller. Make the data safe to hear. Guys, money makes people emotional. Dropping their price is a little bit of a defeat. It's like watching your team and they're losing at halftime, right? It's a little bit emotional. It's a little bit upsetting for them to have to reduce the price, but not if it's part of a plan. So you're making the data safe to hear. So what the agent says and what the seller hears, and the better thing for an agent to say. So what do we always say? Guilty as charged right here. We need to reduce the price. The seller hears, you were wrong. The better thing to say is the market has given us new information, right? Because we don't know. We never know. It is scary to give someone a CMA or to tell them what their property is worth, isn't it? Don't we always have some anxiety with that? Because what if we're too low? And that's happened before, right? And what if we're too high? And that happens a lot more often. Why? Because we want the listing. I think I believe it's partly because we want the listing and partly because we want them to be happy. We want to tell them what they want to hear. Their neighbor sold for $632 down the street and their house is a little bit nicer, right? Of course, it's always a little bit nicer. And it's the exact same model, but theirs is a little bit nicer. And so they think it should be worth $645, $649, whatever it is, right? So the market has given us new information. We don't want to go in there and tell them the actual market. Well, your neighbor sold for $632. It's pretty much the same house. So I'd say $635, $630 is about what we're going to get. That's a tough conversation to have with them. So what do we tell them? We tell them, yeah, we'll price it at $649 and we'll probably get $640. We have no idea, or we're not sure. We have an idea. We think it's worth $630. So another thing we tell them, it's not my fault. Price is too high. What they're hearing is your home is not good enough. This is the house that they raised their kids in. This is the house they love. This is the house that they spent so much money on. It's been a money pit for them, blah, 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 blah. It's got to be worth a lot more than what we paid for it, a lot more than what the neighbors did. They don't know the neighbor spent as much money or more than they did, right? The home has value is what we should say. The home has value. We need to improve the value equation, right? That's kind of just a fancy way of saying it's priced a little too high. It's still a nice house. It's priced a little too high. No one's showing it. Guilty as charged. We don't have any showings. Nobody's showing it. And what they hear is nobody likes my house. And what they often think, though, is you're not marketing it well enough. They should be showing it. My neighbors were showing it, their house at their price. Buyers are choosing competing homes first, and we know that. We know that when we price it. We see that there's 5 other models very similar to theirs, 5 other 4.3s within a half mile that are on the market for 10 grand less than yours, right? We're the fourth highest priced one, or the third highest price. We're right in the middle of the price. The ones that are cheaper are going to go faster, typically, assuming the houses are similar. So this reduces defensiveness by removing the blame. You're not blaming them. You're not blaming their house. This is the market, and we all exist in this market. We all abide by the rules of the market, which is real. It's real. There's nothing more real than where people spend their time and money. That's what's real, and that's what the market is. Okay. A consistent cadence makes the price conversion easier. The weekly seller update system. We all have to be better about this. Guilty as charged. Constantly updating. You set a system where you weekly update them. Look, not monthly. Like, hopefully we're not dealing with months, right? So we agree to this up front, and we have it on our calendar. And every Friday we send them the data, right? If you don't have a good data system, you need to learn one. You send them the whole market data, and we send them the data system around their house. What's happening in your neighborhood within a quarter mile or half mile of your house, if there's any action at all. The goal is not to check in. The goal is to document evidence and guide decisions. So you're doing the traffic and showing count. What else has come on the market? And you guys have seen this before. When we went on the market, we were the cheapest. Now there's 3 cheaper than us because we've been on the market 45 days, right? Feedback patterns, price changes nearby. Everybody else has dropped there. But like I said, we were the cheapest one on the market. Now we're the 4th cheapest because other people have dropped their prices, or new homes have hit the market and they priced right. They knew that they had to be cheaper than us. So what do? They literally show up on searches before we do because they're cheaper. Okay. And recommended action. So what are we going to do about it? So again, the goal is not to, hey, just checking in with you guys. The goal is, here's your weekly update. And we hope to have not too many weeks of that. So what to bring the price conversation? Don't walk in with an opinion, walk in with evidence. By the way, guys, you can get, if you're wondering how to get the saves and all that kind of stuff, go to Zillow, it shows. Go to Realtor, go to all these places and see what the saves are. They put little hearts on them. If you haven't done that yourself, then you know. I mean, if you've done it yourself, you know. I've had a client before tell me, I don't know why it's not selling. I've got 148 likes on Zillow, because people just heart it so they can go back and see it later, which is great. If you're in the certain price range, you're going to have a lot of them no matter what, because people do that so they can easily. People get lost on Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com and Homes.com, and so they do that so they're easier to find. So feedback themes: condition, layout, price, location, competitive set, active, pending, sold, and expired. The buyer math, payments, closing costs, concessions. The next step. So, and we'll get into concessions later, but let's talk about that. So the next step: recommendation and relaunch plan. Evidence earns permission to lead. I know a lot of times we want to lower the price to get it back on there, and we'll lower it by $500 or $1,000 or $2,000. Or if it's a $800,000, $900,000 house, we'll lower it by $5,000, something like that, which is a drop in the bucket. It's just to make it, price reduction, price improvement, we call it, right? And we'll get into that later. But evidence earns permission to lead. They're not gonna want to listen to you if you just say, I feel like we should lower the price. I feel like that. I feel like we should give away your money that's what they hear. And what they really need to hear is the market is telling us this, and here's why. Okay. And it's so easy now, guys. It's so easy. It's not like the old days. It's so easy to get the data and the evidence to let them know, look, we really need to lower this price. So use scripts that lower resistance. Use the right words, keep seller engaged, not defensive. This is like talking to someone when you're in a relationship. You learn in a relationship how to say things that your partner will take a little bit better than saying them other ways. Sometimes just blunt, you need to do this. You always do this. You never do this. I'm not a counselor, but I know you're not supposed to do that. We're real estate counselors. And so we should know how to talk to our clients, right? So, and especially sellers, this is so emotional for them. This is their house. You've got to realize that. Even, and I don't even want to tell you to think about your house, how you'd feel, because you're a realtor and you have a realtor mindset, and so the house is this. You think before, should I get a pool? You think, I'm not spending 80 grand for something that's going to be worth 30 when I sell it. I've got to live here 10 years to enjoy it at the price of $5,000 a year. Is that worth it for me? Right? So, and if you're like, last time I had a pool, and this is me talking, last time I had a pool, I thought I'd use it all the time. I used it uh, 10 times a year, right? And I thought I'd be in it every day. So it just doesn't, no, it is. So that's how we think, but that's not how they think. Okay. So you have to get your own, don't project your values onto other people. They are very sensitive about this stuff. We see it as a house that's worth a certain amount of money. You walk in, when you go to someone's, you're invited to a dinner party, or you went over there to watch the World Cup, and you walk in their house and you're thinking, yeah, probably 550, 600, whatever you're thinking when you go over to their house, right? And that's how we think, because we're realtors. And then you say, I'll probably look it up later. I want to walk you through what the market is telling us. We've had strong exposure, but the activity is not matching the result we need. Guys, if you do this in writing, it's easy to get the right words. If you do it in person, you need to know this stuff. You need to practice this stuff before you present it to them. Okay, that's your opening. Your diagnosis. Buyers are comparing us to homes that are either priced better, showing better, or offering stronger terms. That does not mean your home lacks value. It means our current positioning is not creating enough urgency. Doesn't mean that you're not great. It just means we need to take a different approach. My recommendation is to adjust the price to blank and relaunch with the listing with a fresh metric so we can get back in front of the right buyers. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to mess with my marketing. I'm going to tinker with moving pictures around. Maybe even at some point get better pictures. If I'm not happy with the pictures, if I'm looking at it, do not apologize for getting professional advice. You are a professional. You are not their best friend. That might be your selling style as their best friend, but you need to do. And I see Tammy's face right here on my thing, and I will compliment Tammy because she has both the best friend and the real estate professional. She balances that very well. That's a great approach to take to selling. But she has to. Some of you are just best friends, and that's okay. That helps. Oh my gosh, girl, I love your hair. You look so great. Oh, your dog. I can't wait to come see you guys again and talk to your dog. And would the dog be here for the showings? Blah, blah, right? And you're the best friend. That's great, but you have to be able to adjust to this, right? You have to be able to say, look, my recommendation, and you're going to startle people, and they're going to be impressed with it, that you can be both their best friend and their professional. So you're giving professional advice. And if you've taken the best friend approach and you come at them with, you guys need to lower the price. This stinks. I usually make my money a lot faster than this. That's not going to play well. You're insulting them, right? So what you're going to do is be the professional, present the data, and say, present it like this. Buyers are compared to other homes that are priced better, showing better, offering stronger terms. That doesn't mean your home lacks value. It means our current positioning is not creating enough urgency. They don't want to hear, yeah, this market just sucks, guys. I don't know what to tell you. I'm doing my best out here. I haven't had an open house or done anything, but I've told my friends about it. I put it on my Facebook page, put it on my Instagram. That's not good enough. All right. Script. When they blame marketing, agree with the concern, then redirect to the evidence. All this, guys, I don't know if you're catching the theme, but every slide here has evidence and data in it. This is what you have to have, something to back you up. I agree, marketing. This is where we're defending our value. This is where we're defending ourselves against other realtors. And if we're just terrible, then we're just not going to be able to do it. But if we're good agents, then we should be able to back this up. I agree, marketing matters. That's exactly why I track activity every week. If exposure were the only issue, we would expect fewer views. When the data shows that buyers are seeing the home, but they are choosing not to act at this price. What the data shows is that buyers are seeing the home, but they're choosing not to act at this price / presentation / whatever that data is showing you. Okay? Don't get stuck on price all the time, because sometimes the price is fine and people are parading through the house and they're just not buying it for the reasons that if you've ever shown houses, why some of them don't sell. Why there's a stack this thick of business cards on the counter. Price is great. It's not presenting well. Obviously, if there's a stack this thick on the counter, the listing agent isn't coming and cleaning up or visiting the house. In the price range that I was showing this weekend, the 200 price range, there were roaches, there were stuff all over the place. Agents don't really care. They're just throwing it on the market. A lot of them were investment homes and stuff like that. But, it's not clean. It's not showing well for a reason. Okay. And sometimes we get lazy on these small deals because I'm going to make, 5 or 6 grand or whatever it is. So I'm not going to go out there and visit the property, whatever that is. So validate your right to ask, show proof. You are right to ask. So the seller is going to be concerned, guys. This is a big deal for the seller. This house, they need the money. That maybe they're moving, they have to move, whatever it is. Right now, if people are moving, they probably have to move for some reason. They have to sell their 3.5% interest rate and go buy one at 6%. They have to, or they wouldn't be doing it. And so this is important to them. So you validate them. Validating them is very important for the relationship. Okay. Validate, show proof, view save showings. Again, here's data again. Recommend, adjust, and relaunch. So how much should the reduction be? A small reduction only works when it changes buyer behavior. Okay. Move the home into a new buyer conversation. The cosmetic, the $1,000 to $3,000, I've seen $500, I've seen $100. You guys have all seen these. Or somebody they'll change their price and it'll say minus $100, right? May not move search brackets or buyer urgency for a good reason. Meaningful, 2 to 4%, usually enough to reset interest when data supports it. And the next bracket, when the price thresholds matter, someone's searching. You guys have set up a million searches. You guys know we're doing like this character. I don't adhere to those when I set up my searches, because in this market, things can be negotiated. Keep that in mind. If somebody's approved for 500,000, don't put it to 499 or 500,000. Put it to 525. Put it to 530. Something you think that they can do, that maybe we can negotiate. And if it's been on the market, again, I just had this situation with the 215. It just got on the market, 210. I set the thing to 215. The 210 just hit the market. Probably not going to get the guy's hopes up about that property if he's really limited to 200. But if you see a 520, a 519 that's been on the market for 85 days and they've lowered the price 3 times already, maybe we could get that for 500, right? Or something like that, very close to that. So that's something to think about. But when you're doing the brackets, you guys know what to do. If you got something at 509, it's been sitting on the market, you told them it was worth 495 to start with, they insisted on 515. Now it's at 509. Get it into that bracket, drop it to 499 or 500, and get it to that next bracket where new buyers will see it. Avoid the death by 1,000 tiny reductions pattern, and you need to get that to them too. It sits and sits and sits. You guys see the original price. We only see a couple of prices unless we go into history. We only see that it started at 529 and now it's at 510, but we don't see, unless we go into history, we don't see that it's been dropped 5 times because it's been on the market 85 days. So, and explain that to your sellers as well. Say, we're going to do significant, enough to get it going. All right. Relaunch. Don't just reduce. A new price needs a new reason for buyers to pay attention, especially if you're just doing a cosmetic one. Refresh the photos, the order of the photos, get new photos, change the remarks, make the new value obvious. So, and then we'll talk about here later. We've got better words for you. Notify buyer agents. Call and text agents who showed or saved. This is very, very important. Anyone who showed it and they didn't like it, or they set up showings, or they called to set up showings, they canceled the showings. Let them know. And this happens. I've seen it happen where you let them know. This is something that I do. I let them know, hey, we lowered this price. Hey, or if it goes under contract and they asked about it, hey, this is back on the market. Those kind of things. Like, we all do that, right? We let them know it's back on the market. Hey, we noticed you guys didn't look at it. You liked it, but you didn't look at it. Well, now we have a price improvement, or we have a new value. So let's go into this. Social and email blast. Market new value, not reduced. Open house push. Recreate urgency with a weekend target. So I love that, dropping the price on Wednesday and announcing the open house on the same day. Let's get in there and let's get our hands dirty and let's get this thing going again. Language matters. Not offered at, now offered at sounds stronger than price reduced. That makes me look weak. Reducing the price makes me look weak, right? It's a good thing to do, but it makes the house look weak. Faster, it doesn't create urgency. It's like, well, if they've reduced it once, it's like, remember when interest rates are dropping and you guys were having a time getting people to buy still? You're like, look, the interest rates are dropping. What's wrong with you people? When they're dropping, why am I in a rush? They're going to keep dropping. Tell me they're going to go up next week and I'm going to buy, right? You guys share this news. They're talking about, the Fed's talking about raising the Fed rate. Look, guys, the prime rate, that Paul was on here talking about that's kind of already baked in. That's not going to affect us much. Just like when they've been lowering it, it hasn't helped us much. When they raise it, it's not going to affect us much, if any at all. But it's a good talking point for you guys to get out there. Get in here before this potential. There's share the articles that are saying the Fed is leaning toward raising the rates again this year. In 2026, they're looking at raising the prime. That's not going to affect our interest rates much. But even if but it looks like it might. So use that as urgency. This is a time to go out there and buy. If rates are dropping, they're going to keep. Remember, a couple of years ago, they kept dropping a quarter point every quarter, and you guys were like, buy. Interest rates are lower now, and they're like, yeah. Every time they would lower them, they do in the speech after, they'd say, yeah, we're probably going to drop them a couple more times this year. Thanks a lot. That doesn't help, right? Just keep your mouth shut. Just lower them and keep your mouth shut, because that doesn't build any urgency. I'm better off waiting, because I think that the prime rate is going to directly affect the mortgage rate, which it doesn't. So let's wait another week. We can wait, but waiting is only a strategy if something new will change buyer behavior. If we're sitting on a stale listing, or it's been stale for a week, I've had one showing in the last week. It's getting stale. Waiting another week's not going to help. It's going to make it worse. We need this amount. I understand the market. This is one you got to be very careful with. Yeah, what you need doesn't affect the market. Nobody cares is pretty much what we want to say. I mean, it's great. I care because I care about you, but nobody else in the world cares. The buyer certainly doesn't care what you need. They care what they need, and what they need is a payment they can afford and a house that they want. That's what they need, right? So this is a difficult one to do. I have always kind of just, yeah, I know. But I understand the market does not price based on what we need. It price based on buyer alternatives. That's like a conversation that I've had with my son. It doesn't matter what you need. It matters what's real. But what you're saying is the market doesn't price based on what we need. It prices based on buyer alternatives. That is great when it's backed up with data. Guys, take data with you everywhere you go. Every conversation you have with the seller, you have to present data. All right. And that is, look, I'm sorry. I know what you need, but there's 3 houses on your street that are cheaper than yours, and it's pretty much the same house, or sometimes it's the exact same model, right? Yeah, but we have a view of okay, so maybe it's just not moving. People, that's not resonating with people, right? I paid $80,000 for this pool. My house should be worth $80,000 more than theirs. That's not how it works at all, unfortunately. Should have talked to me before you got the pool. Another agent said it was worth more. This is one we hear a lot, because that's what agents do, because they want your listing, or they wanted the listing at the appointment. And a lot of times this was at the appointment. This is somebody that they play racquetball with. This is somebody out there who says, I talked to so-and-so. They said it's worth more. The lady sold the house down the street. She dropped a flyer off at my house that said it was worth more. The best estimate is the market response we have right now. Let's use that to make the next decision moving forward, right? Can we just improve marketing? Yes, and we should, but marketing can only expose value. It can't create value buyers don't see. That's a tough line to say too, but it's true, right? Yes, and we should, but marketing can only expose value. It can't create value buyers don't see. So that's something to think about. And sometimes these things cost us money. So you need to think about that too. Yeah, I want the seller. I want this listing. I want the seller to get the 579 instead of the 550 that we know it's worth. I'll make a little more commission if we sell it for more. That would be great. And my seller will be happy if we sell it for more. But I'm going to have to spend, when this thing gets stale in the market, I'm going to have to spend more money getting more photos, buying some more, buying some kind of marketing for it, doing a Zillow showcase, doing something for it to show that I'm getting this value. I'm going to have to spend more weekends doing open houses because of this, which is not a bad thing, open houses, but open houses on a stale property are tough to do if you haven't reduced significantly the price, right? Because you're going to be sitting there eating your own cookies. All right. Price reduction mistakes that the cost agents trust. This is what we really want to avoid. Avoid these and the conversation gets much easier. Avoiding the conversation until the seller is already upset. Bad idea. Guilty as charged. We've all done it. Avoiding the conversation until the seller is upset. Look, I need to sell this house. What's going on with it? Weekly updates, completely avoid this. We're talking every week. They can't get upset. They know they're going to talk to me, and they can call me anytime, but they know they're going to do that. All right. Presenting a reduction without a relaunch plan. Right? So you just want me to lower my price. You just want me to give money away. Is that what this conversation is about? I'm already upset and you just want me to give money away. Using vague language. maybe we should think about. Instead, say what the market's telling us is this. Letting the seller control the data narrative. You get in there and you tell them what the data is telling them. They don't let them tell you what the data is telling them. Look, it's not showing. That means you're not marketing enough. No, you've already shown them the exposure we're getting, the likes we're getting, the this and that. The views that we're getting is where that comes in. We're getting lots of views. The price is driving them away, right? Because I see one. Why would I save this when I saw the same house for 15 grand less? A lot of, and then some people will look at it because they want to compare it to the other one. Maybe this thing has gold in it. Maybe there's oil under this house. I want to see this house and see what they're thinking. Maybe there's an oil derrick in the middle of the living room that this thing is printing money or something. Otherwise, I don't know why it's 15 grand more. That doesn't make sense. I'll tell you what makes sense. It was a desperate agent trying to get the listing and let their seller walk all over them at the listing appointment so they could get the listing, so they could be a good agent on getting the listing. And now the seller's stuck with them and they just deal with it. Taking the reduction personally. Don't let them take the reduction personally. We talked about that on the first couple of slides about how to present these things. Reducing too little to change buyer behavior. That is the $500 drop, the $1,000 drop. It's not going to reduce buyer behavior, so avoid that mistake. You're just refreshing it. If you've done something to add value. So I had one recently where the seller was getting lots of complaints about the roof, lots of questions about the roof. The roof was old. It was going to be tough in the future for somebody to do it. It was borderline. They got a new roof. They had a buddy in the roofing business. They got some kind of thing where they got insurance money. So they got a new roof. We raised the price. That's great. Raise the price. Price changes show back up on people's thing, even if you raise them. So it's okay to raise the price. A price adjustment is not a defeat. A stale listing with no plan is. Oh, by the way, we raised the price before we even got the roof put on because we know the roof's going to be on. When it sells, it's going to have a brand new roof. So that's why. We didn't wait for the roof to be on. You don't have to. Once you know you're going to get the roof done, then you can raise the price. A stale listing with no plan is a defeat. It's going to be a defeat. Okay. This is what I want you guys to do. If you have a listing, pick a listing that needs a pricing review. If you have a stale listing out there, prepare the activity, feedback, competition, and pricing data. Schedule a seller update, not a check-in. Not checking in with you guys. You're not my buddy who, wasn't feeling well this week. You're a seller with a stale listing. You're pretty upset about it. Use the recommendation script. Attach a relaunch plan to the new price. When you present this, present it with a new relaunch plan. Look, sometimes you got to take a hit too. Maybe you need new pictures. Maybe you need your photo guy to give you a good tour and add AI and stuff. I've shown you guys some of that stuff that I've seen with the AI. Incredible, really cool stuff that they do where you're walking through the home and the candles get lit by the bathtub and they show a fake family there playing cards out there. It puts people in the picture. That's how you sell. You put people in a picture. If you've ever, those of you who've sold timeshare, those of you who sold things, you're supposed to put the buyer in the picture. They become a buyer. They're just a potential buyer. Then you put them in the picture and they become a buyer. You have to move people emotionally. Selling is the transference of emotion. You have to move people emotionally to get them to buy. Follow up with every buyer agent who showed the home and document the conversation in the next decision date. Not the conversation with the buyer's agent, the conversation with the client and the seller, this is what we're going to do now. And here's our plan moving forward. It is never too late to have a good plan. Even if it's already stale, it's been sitting on the market 75 days. All right, we're going to reattack this thing. Can I meet with you guys tomorrow at noon? Can I meet with you guys tomorrow after work? Whatever it is, I would go to their home and meet with them if you can, or do a Zoom or do whatever with them. Get in there face to face and let them know, look, guys, it's been 75 days. It's time to relaunch. Okay. You're still stuck with me for another 115 days on this 6-month thing. So let's start over. Let's go from here. Where do we go from here? When we first talked, I let you guys talk me into a 579, say this nicer than this, but you let them talk you into a 579 when you first talked to them. That was your mistake. Let's go forward from here. Where do we go from here? Lead with data, speak with confidence, relaunch with purpose. You might have been just a little wimpy person when you went in their house and begged them for their listing and let them list it 30 grand too high. You might have done that then, but that's not who you are now. Okay. It's time to sell this thing. We tried that way. It's time to sell this thing. Just have confidence. If you don't have confidence, fake confidence. Do it. Okay. You drive it, but you have to have data. You can't just have I went to a seminar this weekend and now I'm confident. No, you can't change who you are. You change it with data. You say, look, we tried it the nice guy way, but here's what the data is telling us. All right. This is your 7-day implementation checklist. Guys, if nothing else that I teach you, you do this. If you have a stale listing, and start all of your listings with this in mind. Yes, it might cost you a listing somewhere, but the ones that you list and sell for people, they are going to refer you. I promise you it will pay off. They will refer you to other people. They will speak highly of you. They will leave you a great review. They feel like they're in the hands of a professional. Okay. And that is trust. They want to work with people they like and trust. They will like you and trust you if you speak the truth to them and you have data to back you up. Amy, I don't know if your hand's been up this whole time because you were saying, yes, you have a stale listing, or what reason, or maybe you have a question. I've been ignoring you for 28 minutes. Please feel free to speak. I'm sorry if you have a question. If not, if you just left your hand up, that's fine too.
I just have a really stale listing in Lake Penn. It's an old fish camp, and I listed it too high thinking I could get that out of it. And now I realize I can't. And she doesn't want to go below 50,000, but I've got offers. I've got an offer at 52.5, and I'm hoping she'll take that.
Okay, good. And I do want to address stuff like that. So land, specialty property, stuff like that. Sometimes it's not a price thing. And I tell people that land's typically not a price thing because people aren't afraid to offer you. So let's talk about vacant land for a second. Vacant land is typically not a price thing. Vacant land is finding a buyer who wants it thing. I mean, you're looking at a pyramid of buyers, and I hate to do funnels and pyramids. The pyramid's opposite of a funnel. You're looking at different things. So I usually use a pyramid for a $5 million listing. Is at the very top of the pyramid. You have very few buyers who can buy up there. You have a $200,000 house. Everybody can buy it, just who wants it. You have a $5 million listing. It's up top of a pyramid. Whether you list it at 5 million or 4.5 million, it's a huge difference in amount of money, but it's not a huge difference to the buyer, right? So, so you get a $5 million listing. People aren't afraid to offer you 4.2. Okay, where I'm going to offer 800,000 less would sound silly on any other kind of listing. Land is the same thing. You're not going to hurt people's feelings. So if you land, let's say this property is worth $50,000, it's probably worth more than that, but you've got a specialty buyer. So the pyramid of people who want a raw piece of land is very small. And I tell you the same thing if you're selling a $300,000 residential lot that they're going to have to build a house on. It'll be worth $1 million, but it's a very small amount of people who can fork out the 300 grand, fork out the other money, the patience and willingness to build a house. It's a very small set of buyers. So what you have there, a fish camp, is a retired fish camp, old fish camp. It's a very small set of people who would use that property, would want that property. Plus you're in Lake Panasoffkee, which is a smaller area. So you have a smaller group of people that would buy there anyway, just based on the population. And I'm sure it's a beautiful property. It's probably really cool. It sounds awesome, but what are people going to do with the fish camp, right? So it's a very specialty buyer that you're looking for. And if you have it listed at 100 and people think it's worth 50, they're not afraid to offer 50 because it's not going to hurt people's feelings typically, right? Now the seller wants the most money they can get for it, but that's not as much of a pricing thing. It's good. The 52.5 sounds great. If that's all they can get, that's fine. If she doesn't want to take less than 50 and she gets 52.5, she's not going to be super happy, but at least she's not taking less than 50. Price adjustments on land are a little bit different. Land doesn't get as stale. It's land. The demand's not there for land like it is for homes. So I wouldn't worry as much about that, but it's good that you have an offer. And again, but you still want to do the data. And sometimes and sellers like this on land, especially. I've sold a lot of land and sellers like this. And what they like is, this is what the market's showing. There's just not that many people looking. We have a bit of a specialty problem. I don't recommend you lower the price. They like that. Like, look, your land is worth a certain amount. We just have to get the buyers there. So what we're going to do is take a little different approach to the buying. And all of your listing agreements say that they are going to pay you back for marketing if they cancel the listing. So the only risk you're taking is if the listing expires. And I wouldn't take a land listing for less than a year, unless it's a hot piece of land, infill piece of land like a commercial sale. I wouldn't take a land listing for less than a year, and they need to understand that. Say, look, land just doesn't fly off the shelf like homes do, right? There's just not. I can show you the views on land versus the views on homes, right? And then land buyers are also very particular about what kind of land they want, et cetera. So good job with that. That's great that you're getting offers on it. Just offers don't fly in on land. You'd have to be giving it away and have to be really low price. So I think you're doing fine there. Vivian, you have a comment or question?
I just wanted to point out, sometimes it's like you were just expressing about investing in marketing. Sometimes you can offer to have a clean out of the home as long as it's vacated and make it more presentable and then get repaid at closing. You don't want to invest more than a few $100 to $1,000, depending on your takeaway. But you definitely could offer to, instead of telling people, oh, this is a pigsty, I can't sell it at any price, you could offer to front them that cleanup.
Yeah, and you'd offer, and the first thing I would try to do is get them to pay for it. That's the cleanest thing to do, no pun intended, is to get them to pay for it. And typically they will say, look, we're getting feedback that the home's not clean. And I would probably leave it right there and let them talk. And if they don't say, oh, well, or mention, I know some cleaners. I know some professional cleaners in the area if you're interested. Because if they don't respond to that, I'm trying to get them to pay, because you guys have had to do that and you do not get reimbursed for cleaning. We have an agent who did that and did not get reimbursed for cleaning. The people canceled, and she's like, they don't have to pay me back for the cleaning I did and all the driving I did over there. No, they don't have to pay you for driving. You could get them for the sign in the yard. That's marketing. You can get them for anything you spent on social media marketing or any other kind of marketing, but you can't get them for that. But yeah, that's great. Yeah, and if you want to pay for it, because if they don't offer to pay for it, and you don't want a stale listing sitting around that you're embarrassed to have under your name, and I don't blame you, then you should, absolutely.
Be a term or condition of your listing. You're not just going to throw it out there verbally. You're going to get them to commit in writing that you
sure.
This. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Or even if they agree on email, whatever it is, that's fine. They can agree to it. But yeah, if you put on the listing agreement, then it's part of, if you make a modification listing agreement, send that to them, then it's part of what they'll owe you to cancel their listing. But if your listing expires, you get nothing. So, and your listing is going to expire if they walk in and there's 3 dead roaches and a lizard and everything else, right? I've seen a combination. I've counted up to 5 different species of animals on the floor of a house before. So it's pretty cool. Any other, there was a worm, what else? A roly-poly, all kinds of stuff.
The HUD homes will have like every vermin imaginable.
Oh, is that part of their deal? Or is that just luck?
No, included. It's like a bonus at closing.
You get whatever, you get to count them all. I haven't done that. Brian, did you have a question, or did you accidentally raise your hand? All right, guys, let me go through the chat here. Sorry, I've ignored your chat during this whole thing. Good morning. There's a stale listing. How do we create the market update newsletter? Oh, ChatGPT, somebody answered that. Great. Yeah, you can use any of the AIs to do that. If you're not a member of Aura, by the way, or any association, ChatGPT pulled those numbers for me. Other than chat, are there any sites in our MLS that creates a weekly or bi-monthly newsletter automatically? Yeah, Aura does that. Not as good as it used to be. Some of you guys could probably help her with that, where you're getting yours. I think we talked about it last week. I had a seller who was surprised when she asked if I'd go do some light cleaning for the house, which had been sitting in the market. I told her, oh, she asked you to do that. All right, that's a tough conversation to have. I don't do that. Yeah, I have people who do that for very good pricing. I think that's how I respond to that. And I'm sorry, that's probably a little sexist, to be honest. I don't think anybody asked me to do that. Juliana.
Yes, so I have a situation where I want to avoid this, coming to this. I have a prospect seller. he's a pilot, and he ended up buying in the Lake Nona area because of work, and so that's closer. But he got relocated, or he had to change companies because he was working with Spirit, and since they closed and all that, he ended up going with American Airlines, and their hub is in Miami. So he purchased the house, and now the developer is still selling new homes. He's offering all those incentives and all those things, and the price does not get to what he purchased at. So if he sells, he's going to be selling at a loss.
Mhm.
So
And he
we've been
can't-
talking. He wants to. One of his options is going with Open Door. He says that they're going to buy his house, but I told him they're always trying to give you less and get advantage, because and he knows that if he puts the house on the market, he's not gonna get the money back. Like
has he presented it to Open Door yet?
No.
Good. If you do it for them, you get commission.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
If you do it for him, you get commission. And that's the only good news of anything you said. But I don't know that their offer is going to be that great if they do any kind of investigation into this, because it is very, very difficult to compete when you have a brand new house and they're still selling new houses next door.
Right. That's when he obviously he's doing a lot of research online and all that, and there's a property same as his, and it's been in the market for 140 some days.
Right.
So he knows he's not going to be able to get that price.
This isn't going to help you in the short term, but has he considered renting it, and would rent cover the mortgage?
It doesn't. I think the most he can get in rent is $3,200, and he's paying $36. I mean, it's not a lot, but he does pay for the grass, the HOA, so there's other expenses.
Yeah, he's gonna be out $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, and
well, he might consider for his wife to stay in Orlando, and he can just take the train or the flights back to Orlando when he is not flying.
Right.
And he might consider to do like a year that way. I just don't want him to go to Open Door by himself, and
I mean, he'll probably make 50. I don't know the price of the house, but let's say it's 600,000. If his mortgage is 37, probably 600,000, 700,000.
Yeah, he ended up buying at 643, I think.
Right. So he will probably. And what do you think you could sell it for right now?
I think under 680, 670. I mean, I'm sorry, not 570,
Ooh.
580.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think I'd take the Bright
there's
Line.
another
I think
one
I'd take the Bright Line until they stop selling new houses in that neighborhood. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know how much
him,
money the guy's got, but
I don't know how much
that'll save him
longer.
$100,000 probably.
How much longer the developer is gonna still, because once he stops, the development stops selling his property, maybe then he's not gonna be competing so much for those buyers.
Stop by the builder's office and talk to the salespeople and say, how long are you guys going to be here?
Okay.
Because they know they sell a certain amount of homes every month there, and they know how many lots they have left. They know how long they're going to be there.
Okay.
And ask them, how long do you think you're going to be here? It might be 6 months. It might be 18 months.
Oh, okay.
Or at least until they sell the last one. They're not going to. And once they do, the salespeople will be out. They'll sell the model. The salespeople will be out of there. That'll be the last house they sell there. So, yeah, see about that. They're probably selling. I don't know how big the community is. They're probably selling 5 houses I don't know. Ask them how much. Ask them how fast they're selling and how long they think they'll be there.
I see.
Tell them you have a buyer. I got a potential buyer. How long you guys think will be here?
Okay.
Don't tell them I got a seller trying to wait you guys out. But, I mean, they won't care about that either, probably. So, but you can find out how long they'll be there, and then you can give them a good. You're increasing your value. The more you know and find out about it, the more you're increasing your value with them. And I don't know the relationship with the guy, but the more you're increasing your value, and the more likely he is to work with you in the future. But I think once they stop selling, obviously the values are going to go up.
They go up. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
So it might
Okay.
be worth, and he's right by the airport. You know, if this house was in Mount Dora or something, you know, an hour from the airport, I wouldn't
Right.
suggest this. But since he's in Lake Nona, he's right by the airport. The Bright Line's not far from the Miami airport. You know, he'll be.
Yeah,
It
that's
won't be
what
that
he's
bad.
thinking, that he can, and then he has family in Miami where he can stay if
Mhm.
it's like a short break that he's gonna get in. It's not
Yeah, or
worth
his wife can go down
Portland.
there and visit. Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that then. Thank you
So
very
just
much.
present that as a plan for him, and
Right.
once it stops selling, you guys can help me with this. What you've seen before, if anybody has an opinion on this, when a community sells out, typically the values shoot up on the ones that try to sell
Absolutely.
because they're not
Right.
competing with the builder anymore. They have a practically brand new home.
Right. Okay.
I got a great
Perfect.
deal at Village Walk while they were still selling out.
Mhm.
They were like maybe 70% sold, so they were starting to hurt. We got a pre-owned home, but it was just one of the better models out there. So
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not going to be too lived in because they're still building, so they can't be too old, and it's got to be
exactly.
almost new. It's a great time to buy. It's great if you find an opportunity like that for one of your buyers. That's great.
Some people might not want to wait for building to be done, so they might be open to purchasing a,
Right.
completed home.
Yeah, they might, but she's got competition down the street for, obviously less that's not selling. So
Yeah, the main thing is that they're offering the incentives, the closing costs, and all those things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, wow. So we just priced right below the appraised value. So wait a minute. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. If anybody has, Rashu, go ahead. You're muted if you're trying to talk.
Hello, Ryan, can you hear me now?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so Ryan, like we all know the market. So what is the projection of the market? Like I know being the great location and is it a buyer's market? Is the buyer's expectations are high, or they do because of the interest rates? This is the market of.
But people are calling this a balanced market. I think it's a little bit of a buyer's market. I think buyers are negotiating pretty well in this market if they're paying attention. So I don't know if that's what you're asking. I think it's going to stay like this for a bit, and I think it's dependent a lot on interest rates.
Interest rate. And so is the expectations of the buyers is higher, like they don't like the cookie cutter houses or the new construction? They prefer, like, I'm just trying, because we have a great house in Oviedo and it took a while to sell and we have to really go down on the price being in the great location and all. I mean, we did not made a good, and then we end up paying a huge amount in the closing cost too, towards the buyer.
Mhm.
So I'm just trying to understand, being in the great location also, it's not helping.
I think that it's obviously you sold it, you had to take a little bit of a beating on it. I think that sellers' expectations are a little bit high. I think we were in a booming market and we all just think the prices are going to keep going up and up and up. And they are going up, but not as significant. People love new houses for whatever reason. They're paying through the nose for them. They're getting a little bit of an incentive right now, but they're paying way too much for them, in my opinion. Builders have a way of influencing the appraisals that we don't, and it's difficult. I don't see that changing much. I think these conversations with sellers, that's why this is so important. Talking to the sellers about pricing the home right, and if you need a reduction, you've got to have the evidence of that. Because Rashid, you would have been mad if you had a different. If I were your agent, you'd be mad at me right now.
Yes,
right?
That's true.
Because I would have told you one thing. I would have gone along. I would have been some wimpy agent who came to your house. I've got an appointment with the guards. I'm going to go get this listing. And whatever you guys told me, I'd say, okay, yeah, this is a great area. Schools are great here. It's Oviedo. Everybody wants to live here. All true, right?
Mm-hmm.
and you would say whatever your house was, you'd say it's worth this, and I'd say, oh, absolutely, well, let's list it there. And even in good faith, I would do that, right? So even as the agent that I am, I would say, you know what, you're probably right. It is. I think it's pretty close to that. And so we'd list it and we'd market it and we do everything right. That's why this training I did today is important, is because I would have to come to you with data and say, Rashu, it's just not that you wouldn't believe. You believe it now, and you agreed to this deal because because you're the agent. You know the response you were getting. You know what the buyer's objections were. You know all this stuff. You know that you had to give these concessions to sell the house because you were your own agent. But if I did it, you'd be like, my agent's terrible. My agent's giving away the farm. He doesn't care about me because I'm not presenting you with data. I'm not presenting you with, look, Mr. and Mrs., this is how the market is. This is what we're seeing. These are the clicks we're getting. These are the likes we're getting. These are the showings we're getting. This is the feedback I'm getting after showing it. Now, you know all that because you are your own agent. But for an agent, and so the communication is perfect. If it's you, you know. But I would have to communicate that to you in a professional manner without hurting your feelings. And right now you're unhappy with this. Would you use Rashu again as your agent? You know what I mean? Like, of course you will. You know you did your very best. You know you did it with all your heart because it was your money.
That's true.
Right? But that's the point I'm trying to get across. You're unhappy with your agent, and it was you. So you wouldn't use me again, because and you did your very best, and you had full communication, and you had the seller's best interest at heart because it was your money. So that's why this is difficult. That's why you have to learn to have these discussions, and you have to price it right from the beginning, and you have to do all that. And you can't let the sellers walk all over you because you had the absolute best representation you could possibly get. You couldn't trust yourself more to look after your own money. In fact, I trust you more to look after your money than anyone else in the world. I know if anyone's going to look after Rashu's money, it's Rashu. So I know that. So it's a difficult proposition in this market. When you take a listing, that's why you have to set the expectations. You didn't even have your own expectations right because you never knew what the market was going to do. So it was that difficult even on your own listing. So imagine how difficult it is with other people trying to get them to trust you and know that you did your absolute best for them. It is hard, right? So that's a lesson to everybody in this training. And that's why this is important. Get this stuff down, set the expectations from the beginning. I'm going to go to Patricia's question in the chat.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, you bet. So thank you for that example. It's a great example. And I'm sorry that you didn't get more for your house. It's just the market. It's just the way it is. But I know you represented yourself to the best of your ability, obviously, and you're still not happy with yourself. You're not happy with the market because you did great. Patricia had a property under contract. And I know we talked about this a little bit, Patricia. Under contract, ready to close. A buyer decided not to proceed because his finances didn't line up. My seller got the escrow, so he backed out. The house appraised, and the seller did all the recommendations from the inspection report. And I don't know if it says, but we are getting showings. We're not. I think you mean we're not getting showings. We adjusted the price already below the appraised value suggestions. Patricia, I'm not sure. I've got a lot of you guys, so I'm not sure if you're the exact person I told this to, but I told someone who had this situation. I want to say it was a 362 type number or something like that. But maybe that wasn't it. But to put in their appraised value in the realtor remarks and in the now offering below appraised value in the public remarks and the realtor remarks. We have a brand new appraisal, a week old, done on July 13th, whenever it was done, July 7th, whatever it was, that appraised it. You can even put the number. It appraised it at 362. We're now offering it 355. Something like that. Because what are we doing when we have these conversations? And one thing that I like to talk to sellers about, and I'm going to go on a bit of a thing here, Patricia, and I'll come back to you. One thing I like to talk about sellers about is talk about setting expectations. What I can get you for your house if I do the best job possible, the most likely scenario that we don't have a cash buyer is I get you exactly appraised value. The closest I can get to appraised value typically is the best we can do. In this market, people aren't paying above appraised value. You guys know that. If you have a buyer, and let's say the house appraises for 362, but your purchase price was your agreed upon price was 367. That buyer in this market is 100% coming back to you and saying, I'm not going over 362, right? 4 years ago, they'd say, yeah, we want 372, anything to keep me in the deal. But now they're saying, I'm not going to bid over 362. That absolutely not, right? You know that as a listing agent, like, well, we're not gonna be able to negotiate this. I hope it appraises, right? We can always get out of the deal, but we don't even want to get out of the deal. We're lucky to get appraised value, right? Unless the appraisal, we just think the appraisal is crazy. That's the only time we do that, right? So, and I have that conversation with sellers right now and say, look, the best I can do for you is get you as close to appraisal as possible. So that's why I don't like pricing, agreeing to 365 and giving them 15 grand back, right? I don't want to do that because, or 10 grand back, because that means the closest we can get is 10 grand from appraisal, right? Because it's not, the bank's only going to base it on 362. So, or whatever the appraisal comes in at. So what I would want to tell sellers is, I want to be as close to appraisal as possible. That is the best we can do, is what this house is actually worth. So if we take this I'll go back to my 550 house that we listed for 579 because the seller thought they wanted, they thought it was worth 580. The best I can do, though, even if we get it, if some whack job comes in and offers us 575 and it's going to appraise for 550, right? It might appraise a little more because the contract and appraisers want to go a little, stretch it a little bit, but they're not stretching 25 grand, right? They might stretch it 5 grand. They might get us to 555 because we got that crazy offer. That is the absolute best we're going to do, though, because the buyer at that point is going to say 555 is the best I can do. So, and if they did, and that's why I don't like this. I don't like the, oh yeah, I'll do full price 579, but we want 3% back. No, because now we're going to get to 555 and you're going to want 3% back still. And so what do we do then? We say, we'll do 555, but we're not giving you the 3%. And they'll say, well, I need that 3%, right? You guys have all been through this song and dance. So we want to set the seller expectations right up front. So what Patricia could have had with the seller, and Patricia, you did great. What you could have had with the seller is this conversation. The best I can do is get you to appraisal. And it looks like you got them to the appraised value that the buyer was at appraised 362. That was what they were going to pay, or whatever it was. I made up that number. I don't know. That was a conversation with one of you guys, and it got in my head, and so that number stuck there. I don't know what that number is, but you got to that number, and now you have adjusted the price below that number because you're not getting showings. You got to reposition it in the market somehow. So you've got to reposition with photos. You got to reposition with something. This thing is a great deal. It's worth 362, and you're offering it. Okay, give me the actual numbers. What did it appraise for?
Right now, I lowered to 354.
Is this the one that appraised for 362?
No, the appraise was 358.
358, and you've lowered it to 354. Okay, that was close. Whatever's in my mind was close.
Yeah, close.
Somebody else out there had one that appraised for 362. So 358, and you're offering at 354. That needs to be done. That needs to be highlighted on your public remarks and your realtor remarks. Get your on the realtor remarks, I put get your buyer in something under appraisal, right? We don't have to worry about appraisal now. We know it'll appraise for 362. Was that an FHA deal, by the way?
It was a VA.
VA, that sticks with it. So the appraisal sticks with it. So that's great. So we have an appraisal that sticks, already done a VA appraisal. We couldn't get a better appraisal now, not a VA or FHA if we wanted to, because it's stuck there for 6 months. That's wonderful. The VA appraisal came in at 360. That's what I want to hear, or 358, right? So VA appraisal came in at 358. That's what I want to hear. Now selling for 354.
Can I say that in the listing, in the remarks?
You can say it in public remarks, everything. You're not telling them anything that they can't know. There's lots of things you guys can say in public remarks that you might not know. You can't put your website, you can't put your anything else, but you can put that kind of stuff. You can put seller motivated, you can do whatever you want. Don't do that on this one, but you can put that on other seller motivated. You can put whatever you want in public remarks to a certain degree. There's certain things that you can't put, right? And if you ever have questions on that, you can ask MLS, you can ask me. And I know some of them, I don't know everything that you can't put, but I know a lot of things you can, but I know you can put already appraised at VA. We have a VA appraisal for 362. Buyer backed out at the last minute. You can put buyer backed out at the last minute. Like, wasn't our fault. The inspection was good. Everything was good. The VA appraisal was good. Obviously a VA appraisal means everything was fixed. The house is good. So there you go. You had to make, so that's why you had to make the repairs before closing.
Yeah,
and then the
everything
buyer
was on.
That's a tough situation for the seller. And then people, you know what? And then this happens, and then people will be like, why don't people like VA and FHA buyers? This is why, because I had to make all these repairs, and then you backed out at the last second, and I got to keep your $1,500 or something nonsense like that, right? So how much was the deposit?
2,000.
2,000, right?
It was
Which
more,
technically, unless you put it on the listing agreement, they should have split with you. So that was crazy, right? So, and you probably didn't because you're very nice. But just so you guys know, on your listing agreements, if you do recover a deposit, unless you marked it out, you're due half of that. FRI is due half of that, which we give to you. So there you go. That's what I would do. I maybe move the
Put in the
pictures
number.
around. Pardon me?
Put in the number, the appraisal number, because I do not have the appraisal report. I have the email that I received from the lender, canceling the transaction, whatever he
You have the
he said,
cancellation, but
"You
you
were
don't have the
lucky."
appraisal report?
I don't have the appraisal report. I have the number,
Okay. And who gave you that number?
the lender,
Okay. That's fine. Like in an email?
in an
Or-
email.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine.
it's written. I do have the number.
Okay, that's fine. It appraised for 362, blah, blah, blah. At some
Okay.
point, when they go to get their appraisal done, they'll pull that appraisal up. It'll save them on an appraisal too, probably. So I don't know if you have to pay for another appraisal when it already has an appraised value that can't be different. I think they'll probably use it. So the VA still has the appraisal. So there you go. I'm going to ask Paul that question in a little bit. And if you want to ask me tomorrow, text me, email me tomorrow, email me.
Okay.
And I'll respond to you with whatever Paul told me. Okay.
Thank you, Ryan.
You bet. So, but think about the pictures. Think about the presentation. Think about. I mean, it might cost a couple $100 to have an AI like walkthrough of the house. It kind of makes it cooler. It kind of repackages it a little bit. But that's a good deal for somebody. If anybody has a VA client out there or FHA client or whatever, then where's that house, Patricia?
It's in St. Cloud.
St. Cloud. Okay.
And then
Perfect.
we know that there's many projects connecting St. Cloud with certain areas in Orlando. So it's a booming area. It's still around. There's many
Yeah, sounds like a good deal.
construction. And it's beautiful. It even has a lake view. So it's really a good property to buy.
Yeah, I would say VA appraisal came in at 358. Seller made all repairs, buyer backed out last minute. Don't be afraid to put that on there. That's fine. You can put that in public remarks.
Okay.
And then when you talk to the agent, say, yeah, we got to keep the deposit and everything. Buyer just backed out. That way they know there's nothing wrong with the house, right? So the listing doesn't get stale because you have a story for it.
Maybe say made all repairs required by appraisal, so it doesn't sound like the house was falling apart.
Yeah, all
I don't
repairs
know.
made is all you have to say. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
I like that. Yeah, because people know, agents will know. Clients might not know. Maybe not in public remarks. Maybe put that in the realtor remarks. I don't think a client would understand. That sounds like, oh, they had to make a lot of repairs because they don't know how VA appraisals work, where everything has to be perfect. You know, so or pretty close to perfect. All right, guys. Any other questions? Tammy from Orlando. You're muted.
You were going to talk about the mentoring or no?
Oh, yes. We have an agent in Orlando who is willing to do mentoring, and we have other agents as well. If you don't like Tammy, that's understandable. We have other agents as well, but she's willing to mentor people. If you need mentoring, Tammy will mentor you. She says, what did you say, Tammy? You'll do it on everything, but you said everything but marketing or everything but whatever, because you're not good at
marketing.
Everything but marketing. But Tammy can help you with any kind of client stuff. She's very experienced. She's a hustler. She's wonderful. So Tammy will be glad to help you. If you are at some event or taking a seminar or webinar to learn more about how to market and how to do that stuff, you'll see Tammy there. She's everywhere. And and she's very experienced. She's very, very good. So if you need any kind of help, Tammy will help you. And we have others as well in different areas, although she can help you with any area because she's going to be helping you with the contracting and stuff like that. So yeah, Tammy's offering her mentoring services. You can contact her. Tammy, you want to put your contact in the chat?
I didn't know you were going to do that, like do a little commercial. When I emailed you, I was just like, if anybody asks you, just give them my name. I didn't know you were going to announce it at this meeting.
Oh my
But I will
gosh.
put my information in, yes.
How terrible.
How terrible.
Yeah. So, and I would put that in the chat. If you want to put it on the FRI, in the FRI Facebook group,
Okay.
FRI Agents Facebook group. If you guys aren't in that, get in that. If you want to put in the FRI Agents Facebook group, I will go on there and give you another sterling review after you post it. I'll go in there and comment on how great you are, because you are, and I appreciate you doing that. And we have agents who need it. All right. Any other questions before we go? All right. So yeah, do that. Tammy, put that in the FRI Agents group too, because we're going to end this chat here in a minute.
Yeah.
So put that in the FRI Agents group. And in case they don't know who you are, I will tell them how awesome you are. And if anybody else wants to mentor, you can put that as well. We'd love to have you mentor some agents, and there are agents out there who need mentoring. So look forward to that. Guys, we have, I know some of you are in the Apopka area, maybe not on this chat so much, but we have an agent who wants people to do that, and he got no response whatsoever. He's got, do that. Open house. Sorry, I didn't say the words. Open house. Lewis is trying to get people to do an open house in Apopka. Guys, open houses work in this market. They work. I mean, they're not great, but they're good. They're a good way to build your business, and it doesn't hurt you to get out there and meet some buyers and do that. So he's looking for people to do that. And I think that's it. That's all I have for today. If you guys have anything else, I did want to, no, we'll do it next time. So you guys are great. I think I told you, this is our fourth meeting this month. So I have told you about how great last month was. And we're looking good again this month. So keep up the great work, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks, everybody.